Hey, this is the national treasure, Nick Aldis, and you're listening to the All Night Long Wrestling Podcast.
To another edition of the All Night Long Wrestling Podcast. We are your host. He is the Stallion. I am the Enforcer. And in the midst of all this craziness in the world, professional wrestling is here for us, and that's what we are here to talk about today. Joe, welcome to another edition of the show. Everything good by you?
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me this week. I appreciate it. It's kind of.
I appreciate you making time for us. We are on the road to NXT in your house, and that's what we're going to be talking about this week. We also, in this quarantine era, what do they call it? The new norm, right? The new norm?
I don't know. He was a good character on Cheers, though. I know that. So.
Fucking love Norm. In this new normal era, there's a lot of professional wrestling, that can be watched. That's what we decided to do in the beginning. You and I said, it's, we got some new subscriptions, some streaming services. We consolidated some, and you have been championing OTT for quite some time now, Over the Top Wrestling, and I have been championing Progress Wrestling, which we have talked about on the show. They are very, very similar, but I never gave OTT much time. I don't know why that is. I didn't. I think it's because of the lack of an app. I'll be honest with you. I think that's what it was. But once you showed me their streaming service, OTT on demand through Pivot Share, super easy to watch. So we gave each other some homework. Took me considerably longer to do my homework than it did you, because you're better. You have a better schedule. You are better looking. You're more concise. You're more mature. You're more of an adult. You adhere to your responsibilities better. Did I miss anything?
I just have a lot of free time. I think that's really what it comes down to. So none of those things are true. I just have a lot of free time on my hands.
So what we did was we each picked a show for the other one to watch, and we are excited to talk about that, which we will do later on in this podcast. But what we're going to do first is we're going to talk about this week's NXT in your house. Joe, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, well, we both have the card in front of us, but I know they taped the main event already. Did they tape the rest of the show, or will the rest of the show be live?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't think it'll be live. I sense that it won't be, but I know for sure that they've taped the NXT title match. I'm not sure about the rest of it. Well, I guess we'll find out on Sunday.
If the show is not live, does that lessen your excitement for the show?
Not really. I mean, unless spoilers leak out. But I think that for the most part, these shows that WWE and AEW have been running on if they've taped them, not a lot of spoilers have gotten out, except for when Nia Jax injures people. So
injures, murders, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. So other than that, I don't really mind, because I don't know the results going in. So to me, it's still new, and there's still not much of a crowd, whether it was going to be live or taped. So it's not that big of a deal to me.
Yeah. To me, I don't know. Something about live wrestling, it's just more attractive to me, more intriguing. So I hope. I gotta be honest with you. This cinematic shit, man, I'm done with it. There are some things that were done very well in this cinematic era. The Money in the Bank, I enjoyed. The Stadium Stampede was, to me, the best. The Stadium Stampede, not just being a homer, mark, whatever you want to call me, I enjoyed the Stadium Stampede the most. There's a lot of stuff that has been really bad. The Randy Orton and Edge match, to me, was just a rough use of cinematic wrestling. Would you agree?
Yeah, I guess I don't know what exactly qualifies as cinematic wrestling anymore, in terms of if it's defined by how it's shot or what the elements of it are. Like, I know for sure that the Boneyard match with AJ Styles and The Undertaker was cinematic. I know that the Gargano and Ciampa match on NXT was cinematic. The Firefly Funhouse was cinematic. I guess that the Stadium Stampede would qualify as that, because they were kind of all over the arena, maybe doing different things. I suppose that would qualify. I don't know about Edge and Orton, if that was cinematic or if that was just kind of a false count anywhere that they just went all over the building for. But yeah, I mean, there's been some hit or misses. I think the Boneyard match I enjoyed.
Same. That was really good.
The Stadium Stampede I enjoyed, and I can't really think of anything else that I really liked a lot. I mean, I think that Gargano Ciampa wasn't a bad idea. It was just really long. So other
Which
than that,
match? Which match had the really terrible cut? Mid-air take. Which match was that?
I don't know. I mean, there was a lot of that going on WWE TV, so I assume it's one of those.
We talked about it maybe a couple weeks ago. It was NXT. Was the Velveteen Dream?
It was. I think it was just an NXT. They did a. Velveteen Dream did what was supposed to be an elbow from the top turnbuckle over the barricade to the concrete floor, and they did like a jump cut in between it to make it look like he did that in one shot. But of course.
Yeah, that's okay. So that's what it was. So yeah, this pre-taped, stuff. It's not really for me. I think it's run its course, and I hope going forward, I hope we don't see a lot of it. The reason why I bring this up, because the main event of NXT TakeOver in your house, it's like 14 words, is the Velveteen Dream taking on Adam Cole in a backlot brawl. And I believe the stipulation, I haven't seen NXT yet this week, so forgive me. I believe the stipulation is if Velveteen Dream doesn't win, he's never getting a shot at Adam Cole again.
That sounds familiar. I'll be honest, I fell asleep in the middle of NXT last night, but I do remember seeing, I think Cole was in negotiations with William Regal to get that stuff taken care of, so something along those lines. But I guess this is similar. It's supposed to be similar to the backlot brawl that was had at WrestleMania 12. I guess, is that what I should be? It was 12, right? Yeah, 12.
Yeah. Yep.
Piper and Goldust. So, yeah, I guess like you said, they're supposed to shoot it cinematically, and it's been taped already. So that for sure has been taped for Sunday, and then there's 5 other matches on the card, so 6 in total. I think we're going to run through here and give our thoughts and incorrect predictions on. So,
sweet. Without further ado, let's get into it. I have the card up, so I guess I will MC this. Let's start at the bottom, work our way up. First match on the card, Tegan Nox, Shotzi Blackheart, and Mia Yim versus Candice LeRae, Raquel Gonzalez, and Dakota Kai. A classic New Japan style bunch of faces that don't really matter much with each other versus a bunch of heels. So what do you got for us, Joe?
I think I'm going to go with the heel team. I feel like Candice is newly turned, and Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez is a relatively new pairing. I think one of the baby faces, either Shotzi Blackheart or Mia Yim, can easily take a defeat here. So I'm going to go with Candice, Dakota, and Raquel to get the win.
I second everything you just said, and I think Candice should be getting the pin since she's got the new look, the new everything, the new music. Give her a good run here. So I'm going with the heels as well. Next up on the show, we have Finn Balor versus Damien Priest.
I'm going to go with Finn Balor here. I just think he's someone that they should keep strong, especially if he's going to be remaining on the NXT and potentially NXT UK brands. Damien Priest, the storyline here, I believe, is that it was a mystery attacker that was revealed to be Damien Priest and ended up costing Finn Balor a match against Cameron Grimes, of all people. So I think Balor gets some revenge here and takes out Damien Priest.
I'm not a Damien Priest guy. I was actually more of a Punishment Martinez guy before we have now settled into this Damien Priest thing. I don't think he's got that. I don't know. I think they're trying too hard with him, and I don't think he has the in-ring capability of guys like Lee and Dijak, who he was really huddled around for a long time. So I'm going to agree with you. Finn Balor, for all intents and purposes, he shouldn't be wrestling Damien Priest, right? I mean, is that me? Like he should definitely be more at the top of the card, maybe in the title match kind of deal.
Yeah, I think and I'm assuming that their plan at one point before quarantine and pandemic hit was that they were going to do Balor and Walter somewhere. I don't know what show they were going to do that at. Maybe the NXT TakeOver UK and Ireland they were going to do, or I'm not sure. But I think that was the direction they were heading. And then, of course, with guys not able to travel and they have to change plans. So I think that this is just kind of a side direction that they took. So I that's why I'm thinking that Balor will win and kind of stay strong, or stay towards that top of the card level, so that whenever things open back up, he could challenge, whether Walter or whomever else they want to throw him into at the main event level.
That's a fair point. I actually completely forgot about that. So are we both in? We're both in on Balor on that one, then, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Next up, we have Karrion Kross with Scarlett taking on Tommaso Ciampa. It's weird. It's not Scarlett Bordeaux and it's not Killer Kross. It's Karrion Kross and Scarlett. Yeah. Man, this is a tough one for me to pick because clearly Kross can't lose, right? But Tommaso Ciampa hasn't won in what feels like ever, right? So it's an interesting pairing. Kross wins. He like I said, he can't lose, but this is going to hurt Tommaso Ciampa. I mean, I personally would have just done Tommaso and punishment, or Kross and punishment, right? Sorry, Kross and Damien Priest. So Kross beats another beast, and like he's got a big win. But I don't know. I feel bad for Tommaso Ciampa here, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. Certainly Kross needs to win, right? I think it would be a mistake for him to lose in his first pay-per-view outing, especially after the push that he has been given since his debut. I don't know what the deal is with Ciampa. He lost at the end of the feud to Gargano, so he had to move on from there. He lost that match to Cole because of Gargano. I don't know what the future holds for Ciampa, if he's in it for the long haul, if he's kind of, I don't know if his career, how many years left he has with all the neck injuries that he's encountered. So I don't know if he's at a point where he's only got a couple years left and he's going to transition into more of a part-time or trainer type role. But I'm not really necessarily, I'm not saying I don't like him as a babyface, but I think that's not his best role either. So I do think that Kross will win somehow here. I don't know if they'll do a rematch after this, but I think that Kross will win and continue his push in NXT.
You and I are 3 for 3 so far on this one. Next up, let's go to the NXT North American Championship. Johnny Gargano versus Keith Lee. Keith Lee's been on quite a bit of a run. They have like almost like a mixed tag-esque feud. It's Keith Lee and Mia Yim versus Gargano and Candice. I think this is probably the time for them to strap the proverbial rocket to the heel Johnny Gargano and give him the NXT North American title. Keith Lee has had a good run with it, but I could see them maybe looking to bring Keith Lee up to the main roster at some point. And in order to do that, they probably have to take the title off of him, and Johnny Gargano isn't a guy that I see leaving NXT anytime soon. So why not give him the North American title? So I'm going with Johnny.
Yeah, I think Gargano should win here also for a few different reasons. One of them, of course, because he's also newly turned, so I think him winning this would be a good idea. I think I could see them getting some more mileage out of him and Candice bragging about both winning at the pay-per-view. And I think Keith Lee should move on to some bigger things, whether that's the main roster or maybe feuding for the NXT Championship, depending on where that heads. I think he's had a good run with the North American title. He's, listen, if this was normal stuff was going on, I'd probably just say he should keep it because he's been that good. But I think he should move past it and move on to other stuff. So I'm gonna go with Johnny Gargano. Who is that's agreeing with me?
It started off as Buster was agreeing with you, but now it seems like Hunter is really. He's pissed. He doesn't think at all that Johnny Gargano is going to win.
Okay. He's picking
you want to lay out? We just lay out and let him bark?
No, I think that just should signal to everybody who's going to be betting, placing bets on this show that they should bet on Keith Lee, because if Hunter the dog is not a fan of the Johnny Gargano picks, then I think everybody should pick Keith Lee, but I'm sticking with Gargano as my choice.
Okay, well, now that the beaches of Normandy have been stormed upstairs, we can continue on with the show. So that's going to leave us 2 matches left. We have the NXT Women's Championship match, which is Charlotte Flair defending her title against Io Shirai and Rhea Ripley. And yeah, so let's go with that one next. So NXT champion Charlotte Flair. Charlotte has done a good job with this belt. She's had the title. Oh, here's Hunter. He's ready to give his extra 2 cents on the show. You know, if the idea is to keep Charlotte on NXT to bolster the ratings to combat the old AEW, then you'd probably want to keep her on the show. She just won the title at WrestleMania, which was, it was 2 months ago already, man. Where are we? I don't know. I'm kind of torn on this one. I would like for Io Shirai to get a run with it, but I just don't know if they're ready to do that because of her inability to cut a promo. So I'm going to say we keep the belt on Charlotte here. Yeah,
I think that's going to be their move. They love Charlotte, obviously. I think that's not anything I need to explain. As per, she's on like almost every show. So I think she keeps it, and I think the better move would be for her to drop it in a one-on-one match against whoever they decide is the right person to take the title off of her. So whether that's Ripley or Shirai or somebody else. So I think Charlotte's going to retain it in the triple threat.
Okay, and that's going to leave us with, not for nothing, just to hop back on the Charlotte discussion. I think she's done a good job elevating the other talent that she's been wrestling. Yeah, she's been winning, and everybody's like, oh, she's the female Roman Reigns. But when I think it was Liv Morgan she wrestled a couple of weeks ago, and then she had another good match with Mia Yim, and I think there was one more match at NXT. I think she's done a pretty good job in bringing up some other people and giving them, sprinkling some Flair dust on them, if you will. So I'm kind of all in on her title reign so far. You don't like that. You're not a Charlotte guy.
I don't agree with that sentiment, no.
Talk to me. Why not?
Well, I don't see how she's really benefited anybody else in her 2 months as NXT champion yet. So she beat Rhea Ripley, and then she buried her in promos after the fact, which is pretty much the opposite of what you're supposed to do, right? You're supposed to talk up your opponent so that when you beat them, you look even better. She buried her in promos after that. I can't recall a match that she's had where she put somebody else over other than losing to Bayley on SmackDown, which is probably the last person that needs it. She had a match, I think, with Io Shirai where I don't know if it was like a DQ finish. She had a match with Mia Yim that she won. She had that match with Liv Morgan, and I haven't seen Liv Morgan do jack or squat since then either. And she did beat her. So all I've really seen are a lot of the same Charlotte promos every single week on Raw or NXT or SmackDown. And I mean, if they want to put the title on her to kind of try to elevate that a little bit more and get it onto main TV, I don't have a problem with them doing that. But I'm not really sure what other workers that she's benefited yet from having the title.
Well, I mean, let's be clear on one thing. She's not cutting these promos without direction, right? It's not like she went out there and buried Rhea Ripley. I'm sure that was pretty much to the point of what she was told to say.
I mean, either way, it doesn't. I mean, to me, that doesn't matter. It's just more of, if that's what she was told to say or that's what she said, it doesn't help the situation. It's not made me interested in her or her feuds. So if she would have said, maybe put people over more or, not treated people like a joke or not been so, whatever about things, then I probably would be more invested. But just based off of her attitude and her character, I don't have that investment in her as I maybe would with some other people who would be more of a workhorse with the title.
I'm more invested in her matches because I feel like personally she's gotten a better match out of Liv Morgan than I've ever seen Liv Morgan have. That's the only reason why I say she's bringing up other people. She had a good match with Bayley too, but as to your point, you're just booked on. I think it's an overexposure issue too, right? She's on literally every single show, so they view her as the female version of John Cena and Roman Reigns, which is fine, but you have a lot of TV time right now, and you have a lot of talent that could be taking up those spots. So I agree with you on that. I think we will get a good match, though, which is what I'm looking for. So now the main event, it's a back alley, Hollywood, whatever kind of street fight. Adam Cole, champion, defending against the Velveteen Dream, who seems like we haven't had any blowback, if you will, in that little kerfluffle that the Velveteen Dream ran into a couple weeks back. So I guess good news for him. Maybe innocent until proven guilty, Joe?
I don't know how that stuff works anymore. But yeah,
I like the avoidance of the question.
I think that I think that he's probably going to win the title. I sensed that that's the direction they were going for a little while, especially after Cole beat Ciampa. And the only other person, so I personally, if it was my choice, I would have Cole keep it and then maybe drop it to Keith Lee or something like that. That's what I would do. And maybe that's what they will do. I don't know. But I think that they're going to have him drop it to Velveteen Dream this weekend. Because I don't know what you would do with Dream after this if he loses. And I don't know what the situation is with Adam Cole and the Undisputed Era. We were talking off air yesterday about Cole's contract situation. If he is running out in August, I don't know if he's re-signed yet. Would they keep the title on him, closer to when his contract is running out, or they just kind of take it and move him onto something else, whether it's the main roster or different feuds, break up the UE, or if he's just going to leave altogether. I think so. My sense is that that's where they're going to go. He's had the title for over a year. He won it on June 1st of last year in Connecticut, so he's had it for over a year.
We were there.
Yep, we were there. So I think that's just what they're going to do. I mean, Velveteen Dream is really as close to a developmental guy as they've had, right? I think he came from Tough Enough. I know he had some, I think, indie experience, but he's really been a guy that they developed that character in-house, and they probably want to pay that off. So I think Dream's going to win it on Sunday.
I'm standing strong on Team Adam Cole. All of your points are valid. I just don't think the Velveteen Dream is a guy that really needs the title. And then I look at, who's going to be in the main event picture after. If Velveteen Dream were to win, I mean, you could do a rematch with Adam Cole, fine, with a hotshot Killer Cross. He's a face, right?
Cross?
Yeah.
I think he's a heel.
Cross is a heel?
I assume. I mean, he's facing Ciampa on Sunday, so he kind of attacked him from behind and suplexed him on concrete or some junk like that, right? So
I thought he was kind of like that cool tweener face. All right, so I guess maybe you could have Killer Cross do it. Yeah, I don't know. I'm sticking with Adam Cole because I feel like he deserves the title, and I don't feel like the Velveteen Dream is a guy that you could build the promotion around. I think I just don't. He has good matches, don't get me wrong, but I think if they want to go babyface champion, I think, like you said, Keith Lee is a better alternative. Or you go back to Tommaso Ciampa if you wanted to. I mean, they did Ciampa and Cole already, but I'm gonna say Cole. I'm gonna say Cole keeps it, and maybe Keith Lee afterwards. So we were 5 for 6. We agreed on everything but the main event, which is we're usually wrong like a lot when that shit happens. I think last one was like the AEW before last, and we did very, very poorly. So,
well, I hope you're right. So.
Yeah, what's your level of excitement going into this show out of 10?
I don't know, maybe like a 6. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of good matches in ring, so they always seem to deliver on stuff like that. So
in ring, not cinematically.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about that. It's hard for me to judge those things. I can't predict because there's only been a few, and you never know what kind of tricks they're going to have up their sleeve with those types of things. So, but I think all the other matches for sure will be entertaining. I just some of the storylines leading into it are not as hot, and again, that comes with the lack of crowd and maybe some other taping certain things and new faces that they're kind of people are trying to get used to. So I think it's not maybe as hot as other NXT TakeOver shows that they've had in the past, but given the circumstances, I'm sure the matches will be good and it'll be an enjoyable watch on Sunday. Sure,
I'm right about there. I'm about 6.5 because it's giving me something to watch on the weekends. That's professional wrestling. That's new, So let's all right. Let's shift gears. We said a lot of the names we mentioned, believe it or not, have come from other places like Progress and OTT. Well, I don't know if OTT has it. I don't think they have a relationship with the WWE, do they?
As far as allowing their wrestlers to go over there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they have. I mean, I think they have relationships with almost everybody, from what I can tell. I mean, I've watched OTT shows that have featured guys like Walter, right, is a WWE guy. Devlin was for a while. I've seen guys from ROH like Mark Haskins, and I think I've seen guys from AEW there and New Japan, right? I mean, I've seen Will Ospreay there,
true.
Jushin Liger. I think over time I've seen those guys do that type of stuff. So I don't know what their relationship is officially, but I know that there have been wrestlers that in WWE that have worked on those shows in the past.
And Progress, clearly they have a working relationship with the WWE as per the WWE UK. I know something changed earlier this year. I'm not too keen on what it is. I hope it means those guys can still come to Progress. Of course, I'm talking about like Mustache Mountain, Jordan Devlin, things like that. But without further ado, let's get into both of these shows. You want to start with Progress or you want to start with OTT, Joe?
I mean, I think you just watched OTT, and I've seen Scrappermania 5 several times already, so we can certainly jump into that.
All right, so Scrappermania 5, for those who don't know, OTT, Over the Top Wrestling, is the predominant professional wrestling organization in jolly old Ireland, my home country, where I'm from. Well, my ancestors are from Ireland. But, Progress and OTT kind of mirror themselves in terms of the crowd, in terms of the atmosphere, and a lot of the talent, because apparently I looked at a map. The UK and Ireland are pretty close to each other. So very simple for those guys to get over there. And now, correct me if I'm wrong, Scrappermania is their biggest show of the year, or is it the anniversary show?
I think those are the two biggest from my understanding. And my OTT knowledge, I'm ramping it up as quickly as I possibly can over the last 8 to 10 months or so. But I think Scrappermania is usually held around St. Patrick's Day in Ireland, and then their anniversary show is, of course, probably when their anniversary is a little bit later in the year. Those are typically, to my understanding, their two biggest shows in terms of storylines and crowd size, venues, and things like that.
Okay, now I'm not gonna go I don't want to do the breakdown for every match because we'll be here forever. Just a couple of things that really stuck out to me, and we can go back and forth on it. The entrances in OTT are better than anything I've ever watched on my television ever. The besties in the world are the current Evolve Tag Team Champions. They come out to Savage Garden. Club Tropicana, Captain Sexy, and Aiden Epic. Dude, the stuff that they do is it's hilarious and it's great. But for everything that's hilarious and great, the things that they're able to do serious-wise, like the video packages behind these matches, where it told the story of why this match was happening. Session Moth Martina and her match with Meiko Satomura, they had such a great video package leading up to it that Session Moth kind of felt like she was a little bit of a loser. She lost the title for the lads from the Flats. And it brings you in and it gets you emotionally invested. Like, all right, I know what's going on. Now I can decide who I want to root for in this match. Did you feel the same way?
Yeah, I do. I think that the storylines that they have and the video package that they use to build up to some of these matches on the main shows are excellent. The production quality is great. And, some of these matches where it's for promotion, when it's a promotion like this that doesn't have a weekly TV show, right? And they kind of have to build to these, major events with smaller events or however they do it. Maybe YouTube related stuff with storylines or whatever. It's just great. You watch it and you become immediately invested. At least I did in when you watch some of this stuff. So that match, the Session Moth Martina match that you mentioned, I thought was great. The build up to it. We talked about, and the other guys that they have, you can tell, right? Like Jordan Devlin has been their ace for a long time. I think he recently just kind of parted or whatever they're doing with OTT right now, but he was their ace, and you can tell that a guy like Scotty Davis is probably the next guy that they want to be that Irish ace, and he gets a strong push. You get familiar with him right away. He faces Jushin Liger on this show. Yeah,
I mean, let's not even call him a guy. He's 19 years old, Joe?
Yeah, he's a young guy, but he's clearly very talented, and he also is has wrestled in Progress. So you see stuff like that. They bring in a guy like Walter, who's a dominant champion pretty much anywhere that he goes. And again, in the mix of talent, we talk about David Starr is a guy who's now their current champion in OTT, and he's been towards the top of the card for a while. On this show, Scrappermania 5, which is from 2019, he wrestled Dan Barry. And the crowd is just, so good, but, cheering for Barry and, buying into Starr's act and everything. And it's just, those matches are so good and all those people are so talented, I guess. It's just really an entertaining watch
And
from start to finish.
Dan Barry of Team Tremendous, he can go. Like, Team Tremendous is like a comedy routine, but when they put on a match, they put on a great match. And he went 20 minutes with David Starr, hold for hold, move for move, and the please don't go, not please don't go, but it was please come back chant. And then there was the last chant was you're one of us for Dan Barry. So that match was great. Aussie Open is a tag team that I've watched a lot in Progress, and they were in a 4-way match here with Angelico and Ray Horace versus Club Tropicana and the Besties in the World, and that opened the show. And that's one of those like 4-team scrambles where it's like literally balls to the wall for 10 minutes, don't blink, crazy shit's going to happen. That match was off the charts. Going down the card, just talking about some of the matches that stuck out to me. The Loser Leaves Town 6-man tag match. It was the Kings of the North, who were Bonesaw, Damien Corbin, not Corbin, and Duncan Disorderly against British Strong Style, Peter Dune, Trent Seven, and Tyler Bate. I think everybody thought the Kings of the North were going to win because British Strong Style was leaving to go to the WWE anyway. Swerve, British Strong Style wins and wins the OTT 6-man tag title in the process. And the crowd, dude, I felt like if this was a 3D show, like I was there. I was in the crowd. That match really exceeded my expectations. But to me, one of the matches of the year, and I didn't even fucking see it last year, was Jordan Devlin and Walter. Go back. Do whatever you have to do. Go back and watch Jordan Devlin versus Walter. That match starts in just a blaze of fury, and it continues the entire time. Like 3 times I texted you. I'm like, all right, I'll be ready to podcast soon. I'm in the closing stretch, and it was like 6 minutes into the match, and the match went 22 minutes. So, like, that match told a great story. The crowd loved Jordan Devlin. They fucking hated Walter. Like, it was like they were gonna like jump in the ring, old school heat. That match, I'm going 5 stars. I'm going 5 stars big for Devlin and Walter. And then overall, the show to me, I'd give it a 9. Because it was like a buffet, right? It was a little bit of everything. The comedy was good comedy. The pro wrestling matches were great wrestling matches, and the main event delivered strong. I go 9.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on that. It's such a good overall entertaining show for me. And the announcers, Angus McAnally and Tony Kelly they're just so good. They open the show every time, and they have their kind of little skits or things like that they do with the fans, right, where they introduce the show, and Tony Kelly doesn't wear socks. It's really just the whole, you have to kind of, if you keep watching the shows, you can see things like that develop, and there's storylines that go from this show that carry out for the rest of the year. So as you continue, if people subscribe to OTT on demand, check it out. I think it's like, I pay for it. I don't know, it's like $8.50 a month or something. It's not even $10. It's like less than $10 a month to do it, and you get their entire library plus some events from other promotions like AAW, Rev Pro. It's really, if you're a fan that likes to
have fun,
and also like broaden out beyond just some of the standard promotions that are here in America, like WWE, AEW, NXT, ROH, and this is one of the promotions I think that people should check out for sure. In addition to Progress, which I know we're going to talk about here in a second. So I think it's highly recommended by me for anybody who's interested in checking it out.
Yeah, so kudos to you for picking up OTT last year, man. So that was, like I said, that was a great show. And not for nothing, no matter where Zach Gibson goes, the dude is a heat magnet. People fucking hate him. Like, he held the microphone for, 10 minutes before he even got a word out? It was fantastic, so that was awesome. Let's head on over to Progress Chapter 95, Still Chasing. This is not one of the the giant bigger Progress shows. Progress did a show earlier in the year. They have their Super Strong Style 16, which is a tournament. This was just a regular run-of-the-mill Progress show from their Alexandra Palace, and it delivered in every aspect. I've watched a show more than once, much like you did to OTT. So give me some of your your takeaways from it. What do you thought?
So Progress is something I think that I was a little bit more familiar with, or been familiar with for a little bit longer. They did a show here in New York that we went to, which was a lot of fun. I know Jim Smallman is no longer in charge of it because he's moved on to NXT UK, but he's also a guy I think that he opens the show every time and gets the crowd into it. Interacts with them, makes people feel like they're part of the show. And yeah, it's in a similar sense, like we said, they're able to bring in talent from a lot of different areas, whether it's not only the UK, but other European countries, some wrestlers from the United States and WWE, and yeah, I mean, this show, like you said, I guess for what would be considered a quote unquote regular show, had a lot of big stuff on it, right? They had a tag title match to open it. They had a battle royal. Excuse me, a rumble, whatever they call it.
It was a Proteus Rumble, but to your point before, not to interrupt you, you were talking about Scotty Davis and how this kid's 19 and he's going to be the ace of OTT. He and Jordan Devlin won the tag team titles in this show, so I think like Scotty Davis is a guy you're going to be seeing for quite some time. Yes,
yeah, him and Cara Noir, right? Guys like him who fought Pete Dunne on this show. And that Proteus Battle Royal, it's something that. That the Proteus title concept is something that's at least new to me. I'm not sure if it's ever been done before in the wrestling business, but to me, it's relatively a new concept where the champion gets to determine what the rules will be for the matches when the belt is defended. And I think Paul Robinson, right, ended up winning the Rumble to become the first Proteus champion. So I thought the Rumble was pretty entertaining for what it was, with a lot of different folks in it. I was a little upset that. Oh, man, who was it that I was... Oh, Vacant. I was upset that Vacant, the 52-time champion, did not win the Rumble. But there's a lot of good stuff. In it. Martina is in it, too, so you get to see some intergender wrestling in the Rumble.
I was pretty upset Santos didn't win. Los Federales Santos Jr., part of the anti-fun police. Yeah, it was a rough loss for me.
So then, and then the end, I think there's the angle of David Starr not being able to defeat Walter has crossed over several different promotions, and Progress being one of them. So Walter, being the Progress champion at this show, defended against David Starr, and then they had the I'm not going to call it the Money in the Bank cash-in, but there was a cash-in of sorts, right, for a title shot, where Eddie Dennis ended up cashing in a championship opportunity to win the Progress title by pinning David Starr at the end of the show. So pretty twist ending, as they say.
Swerve, bro. I think they call it a swerve. Yeah, I didn't see that coming when I watched that, and I saw Eddie Dennis win. I was like, holy shit. Yeah, it was such a cool... Nobody even thought about it. Walter and David Starr, yada, yada, yada. Boom. And here we go. Miko Satomura again. She defeated Jordan Grace for the Progress Women's title. So, yeah, man, Progress is another show. What they do is they continually build stars. Cara Noir lost to Pete Dunne in this match, but immediately that dude, he became a star. Scotty Davis, people knew of him, but partnering with Jordan Devlin gave him really good credibility, and to get wins over the Grizzly Young Vets and Aussie Open, again, they're really, really good at noticing that those guys that they have there, they're not going to stay there forever. So they quickly have to, like you said, they don't have a weekly show. So usually one a month, maybe one every 2 months or every 2 months. So you have to quickly get those guys to the next level. So people keep buying tickets for these shows, and that's what they're doing here. Cara Noir is, well, I don't want to spoil it, but let's just say he has a pretty strong 2019 into early 2020. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, I think overall, I'd probably give this show, I'd probably give it an 8 for me. I like the OTT show better, but that's just, I'm kind of more of a bias in that regard. But it was a very solid show, and there's a lot of good wrestling up and down the card.
I'm going to give it an 8.5. I will say this Proteus Rumble was probably the most fun Rumble match I've ever seen. I think the booking was great in it, had a lot of serious stuff, had a lot of comedy stuff, and it was an hour-long match, and it kept my attention. I was watching it. I was like, all right. I'm like, I'm not turning away from it. So kudos to Progress. Kudos to OTT. You and I both subscribe to these both, so we're definitely looking forward to these guys returning, hopefully sooner rather than later, and following up with some more OTT and Progress. Our European expansion, I think, is what we should call it, Joe. The All Night Long Wrestling Podcast takes Europe, right? They're both in Europe, right? That's the thing.
There you go. European Rampage Tour. Let's do it.
European Rampage. Oh, God. Don't get me started on that. Last but not least, me and the old wife ski, we want to go to Ireland for our delayed honeymoon. So I'm going to try to plan it around an OTT show. Maybe I could reach out to them, be like, hey, when you guys have shows coming up, and honey, we're in Ireland. What better thing to do than check out some scraps, eh? They don't say, hey, that's Canada, right?
I don't know. I think, but I'm sure if you reached out to OTT and told them that you were planning your honeymoon around one of their shows, they would probably guide you in the right direction. I'm pretty sure. They seem like all great people over there, so I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all.
I agree. They definitely do. Well, listen, guys, we appreciate you checking out another episode of the All Night Long Wrestling Podcast with us. If you want to follow us any and everywhere on social media, it is at All Night Long WP. If you've checked out these shows, let us know. There was really, really quickly, there was a gentleman on Twitter that Kicking Out a Kayfabe podcast actually messaged me. I said I was watching Scrappermania's show. He said he was at the show, and it was one of the most, the fun wrestling shows he's had. So, if you guys have seen these shows, you want to talk to us about it, let us know. Or if you want to try Progress or OTT on Demand, give it a shot. There's a lot of good content on there. And we're hoping for a lot of good content this weekend at NXT's In Your House. Follow us along on that social media platform, and I'll be tweeting along because I'll be live watching because I got nothing else to do. So for Joe, who goes by the Stallion, myself, the Enforcer, that's it for another edition of the All Night Long Wrestling Podcast, and we are tapping out.
Best friends.